Olivia Chen traced her finger along the rim of her untouched cappuccino, her art history textbook lying forgotten on the cafe table. The autumn sunlight filtered through the window, but she barely noticed. Her mind was consumed by thoughts of him, Marcus Hale, the man who had unknowingly captured her heart over the past 8 months. At 22, Olivia understood she should be focused on her graduate thesis about Renaissance sculpture. Instead, she found herself obsessing over a man 14 years her senior, a brilliant architect whose innovative designs had transformed the city's skyline. Marcus had been part of her life for years, always present at family gatherings as her brother Ethan's closest friend. But Olivia had been too young to see him as anything more than a family acquaintance. Everything shifted last winter when she returned from her semester in Florence. She had left as a girl still finding herself and returned as a woman who knew exactly what she wanted. Suddenly, Marcus's penetrating gray eyes, the confident way he moved through space, his rare but devastating smiles, all of it awakened something profound within her. The frustrating part was Marcus's determination to maintain distance. At every family dinner, every casual encounter, he treated her with polite detachment. When she asked about his latest architectural project, he offered professional but brief responses. When she tried to engage him in deeper conversation, he found excuses to slip away. His avoidance only intensified her desire. Olivia closed her book with determination. She had spent weeks carefully gathering information through seemingly innocent conversations with Ethan. She knew Marcus spent Saturday mornings at his private studio by the lake, working on designs without interruption. She knew he kept a spare key hidden in a decorative rock by the entrance. She knew he would be alone. Her plan was daring but simple. Appear at his studio with a plausible reason, something that would give them time alone together. She had chosen today because Ethan was out of town for a legal conference, eliminating the risk of unexpected interruptions. The next morning, Olivia drove to the lake as dawn painted the sky in shades of rose and gold. Marcus's studio was a masterpiece itself, all glass and natural wood, designed to blend seamlessly with the surrounding forest. Her heart hammered as she retrieved the key and let herself inside. The space took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the misty lake. Architectural models covered every surface, each one a tiny world of possibility. Sketches and blueprints papered the walls, revealing Marcus's creative process. In the center of it all, she found him. Marcus stood at his drafting table, completely absorbed in his work. He wore faded jeans and a charcoal Henley, his dark hair slightly disheveled. Reading glasses perched on his nose, a detail she had never seen before. Something about catching him in this unguarded moment made her pulse race. She cleared her throat softly. Marcus spun around, his eyes widening in shock. "Olivia?" His voice carried notes of surprise and something else, concern maybe, or warning. "What are you doing here? How did you—" "Good morning, Marcus," she said, stepping further into the studio with practiced confidence. "I hope you don't mind the intrusion. I brought coffee." She held up the carrier with 2 cups from his favorite downtown roaster, another detail she had learned from Ethan. "You broke into my studio to bring me coffee?" His tone was skeptical, but she noticed how his gaze swept over her before he forced himself to look away. She had dressed carefully in a forest green sweater dress that complemented her complexion and dark eyes. "I didn't break in. Ethan mentioned where you keep the spare key for emergencies." She set the coffee on his work table. "Besides, I wanted to see your space. He's told me so much about your work, but I've never seen where the magic happens." Marcus removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Olivia, this isn't appropriate. Does your brother know you're here?" "Ethan's in Chicago until Monday," she replied, moving closer to examine a scale model of a museum. "This is beautiful. Is this the project you mentioned at dinner last month? The cultural center?" "Yes, but—" Marcus paused, clearly wrestling with how to handle the situation. "You shouldn't be here." "I'm working. I won't disturb you," Olivia said innocently. "I brought my laptop. I can work on my thesis while you design." "It's peaceful here." "Much better than my cramped apartment." She watched the internal battle play out across his features. Finally, Marcus sighed in resignation. 1 hour. "Then you need to leave." "Deal." Olivia smiled, settling onto the leather sofa near the windows. She opened her laptop but spent more time watching Marcus return to his work. The way his brow furrowed in concentration, how his hands moved with precision and grace, everything about him fascinated her. An hour passed, then two. Marcus became absorbed in his designs, occasionally muttering to himself or sketching rapidly. Olivia genuinely worked on her thesis, but the comfortable silence between them felt intimate, like they were sharing something precious. "Can I ask you something?" she said eventually, breaking the quiet. Marcus looked up, his expression guarded. "About architecture?" "About you." Olivia closed her laptop. "Why do you avoid me? At family dinners, at Ethan's birthday, whenever we're in the same room, you disappear. Why?" The directness of her question clearly caught him off guard. Marcus set down his pencil, his jaw tightening. "Olivia, I'm not avoiding you." "You are, though." She stood and walked toward him. "Every time I try to have a real conversation, you shut down. Is it because of Ethan? Or is it something else?" "This conversation is exactly why I keep my distance," Marcus said, his voice strained. "You're Ethan's little sister. You're 22. I'm 36. Do you understand how inappropriate this is?" "What's inappropriate?" Olivia challenged. "Two adults talking? Or the fact that you feel something too and it terrifies you?" Marcus's eyes flashed. "You need to leave." "Why?" "Because I'm telling the truth?" She moved closer, her heart pounding but her resolve unwavering. "I see how you look at me sometimes, Marcus. When you think no one's watching, those brief moments when your careful control slips. I'm not imagining this connection between us. Even if—" He stopped himself, running his hands through his hair in frustration. "Olivia, I've known you since you were a teenager. I've watched you grow up. Your brother is my closest friend. This is impossible." "Nothing is impossible," she said softly. "Just complicated. But some things are worth the complication." They stood facing each other, the air thick with unspoken words and suppressed desire. Olivia could see the war raging behind Marcus's eyes. Duty versus desire. "Loyalty versus longing. You should go," he finally said. But his voice lacked conviction. "I'm not giving up," Olivia replied, gathering her things. "Just so you know." As she reached the door, she turned back. Marcus stood watching her, his expression tortured and tender all at once. "Your hour turned into 3, she said with a small smile. "That means something, Marcus. Whether you admit it or not." She left him standing in his studio, surrounded by blueprints and models, his carefully designed world beginning to crack under the weight of something he could no longer deny. The week following her first visit to Marcus's lakeside studio became a carefully executed mission. Olivia had witnessed the fracture in his armor, that moment when his resolve wavered, and she knew she was breaking through his defenses. Each morning brought a new opportunity to appear in his world. Monday arrived with Olivia at his studio door carrying a basket of fresh pastries. "I was at the farmer's market and remembered you mentioning you love almond croissants," she said brightly when Marcus opened the door, surprise evident on his face. He hesitated, then stepped aside with a resigned sigh. They ate breakfast on his deck overlooking the lake, talking about her research on Baroque sculpture while herons glided across the water. Tuesday brought a different approach. Olivia called him, her voice apologetic. "Marcus, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm working on a paper about the relationship between classical architecture and modern design. Could I possibly interview you? Just 30 minutes of your time?" She could hear his hesitation through the phone, but his professional pride won out. He agreed, and those 30 minutes stretched into 2 hours of passionate discussion about form, function, and beauty. Olivia watched his eyes light up as he spoke about his craft, and she fell even deeper. On Wednesday, she arrived with her camera. "I need photographs of architectural details for my presentation. Ethan said your studio has incredible structural elements." It wasn't entirely a lie. Her presentation did need images, though she could have found them elsewhere. Marcus showed her around, explaining the design choices he had made, why certain angles mattered, how light transformed space. When she asked him to pose beside one of his models for scale, his hand accidentally brushed hers as he adjusted the structure. The touch lasted mere seconds, but electricity crackled between them. Thursday brought rain, and Olivia showed up drenched, claiming her car had stalled nearby. Marcus wrapped her in a blanket and made tea while she used his phone to call a tow truck. They sat by the fireplace, and for the first time, Marcus opened up about his past, a failed engagement years ago, the pressure of running his firm, the loneliness that came with success. "Everyone sees the awards and the magazine features," he admitted, staring into the flames. "They don't see the empty house I return to every night. The holidays spent working because there's no one waiting for me." "That doesn't have to be your reality," Olivia said softly. "You choose isolation because it feels safer than vulnerability." Marcus looked at her then, really looked at her, and she saw something shift in his expression. "When did you become so perceptive?" "I've always been perceptive," she replied with a gentle smile. "You just never noticed because you were too busy seeing me as Ethan's kid sister." By Friday, Marcus stopped pretending her visits were unwelcome. When she knocked that morning, he opened the door with coffee already prepared the way she liked it. Extra cream, a touch of cinnamon. "Let me guess," he said with a hint of amusement. "You were in the neighborhood?" Olivia laughed, the sound bright and genuine. "Actually, I just wanted to see you. No excuses this time." Something in Marcus's posture relaxed. "Honesty. I appreciate that." He gestured her inside. "Come in. I want to show you something." He led her to a section of the studio she hadn't seen before, a private gallery of sorts, filled with sketches and watercolors. "These are my personal projects," he explained. "Buildings I design for myself, not for clients. Dreams I keep in drawers." Olivia studied each piece with genuine admiration. They were stunning, a library built into a cliff face, a home that seemed to grow from the forest floor, a meditation pavilion floating above water. "Marcus, these are breathtaking. Why don't you build them?" "Because they're impractical. Too expensive, too risky, too personal." He stood beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "I built my career on practical, profitable designs. These are just fantasies." "Dreams aren't meant to stay in drawers," Olivia said, turning to face him. "They're meant to be pursued, even if they scare us." The double meaning hung between them. Marcus's hand came up almost unconsciously to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple," she whispered. "We complicate it with fear." His phone shattered the moment, Ethan's name flashing on the screen. Marcus answered, his voice shifting to something more guarded. "Hey, Ethan, tomorrow night?" "Of course I'll be there. Looking forward to it." When he hung up, tension had returned to his shoulders. "Your brother's birthday dinner. He's expecting both of us." "I know," Olivia said. "I'm cooking." "Olivia, we need to talk about this. About what's happening between us." "What is happening between us, Marcus?" she challenged. "Because from where I stand, you're still running away." "I'm trying to do the right thing," he said, frustration creeping into his voice. "For you, for Ethan, for everyone." "What about what I want? Doesn't that matter?" Olivia grabbed her bag, hurt flashing across her face. "I'm tired of this push and pull. Either you want this, want me, or you don't. But I can't keep playing this game." She left before he could respond, her heart aching with frustration and longing. The next evening, Olivia poured all her emotions into cooking Ethan's birthday dinner. Her brother's apartment filled with the aroma of garlic, rosemary, and slow-roasted lamb, his favorite. But her mind remained elsewhere, replaying every interaction with Marcus, wondering if she had finally pushed too hard. When the doorbell rang at 7, her stomach flipped. Ethan bounded to the door, greeting Marcus with their usual warmth. Olivia took a steadying breath before emerging from the kitchen. Marcus looked devastating in tailored black pants and a deep blue shirt that made his gray eyes seem almost silver. When those eyes found hers, the intensity in them made her breath catch, but he quickly looked away, handing Ethan an elegantly wrapped gift. Dinner was exquisite torture. Olivia sat diagonal from Marcus, hyper-aware of every gesture, every word. Ethan chatted enthusiastically about a case he had won, completely oblivious to the charged atmosphere between his sister and best friend. Every accidental meeting of eyes felt like a physical touch. "You've been spending time with Olivia, I hear," Ethan mentioned casually while serving dessert. She said you've been helping her with her thesis research. That's really kind of you, Marcus. Marcus's fingers tightened imperceptibly on his fork. She's exceptionally bright. Her insights into architectural history are impressive. Still, I appreciate you looking out for her, Ethan continued. She's my baby sister. There are plenty of guys at the university with questionable intentions. It's good knowing someone I trust is around. The irony wasn't lost on anyone at the table. Olivia saw guilt flash across Marcus's face, saw the internal struggle playing out behind his carefully neutral expression. After dinner, while Ethan took a work call in his bedroom, Olivia and Marcus found themselves alone in the kitchen. The tension that had been building all evening finally erupted. I can't do this, Marcus said quietly, his back to her as he rinsed plates. Did you hear your brother? He trusts me with you. He thinks I'm protecting you from exactly what I've become. A man who can't stop thinking about his best friend's sister. You are protecting me, Olivia said, moving closer. From settling. From men who don't see me for who I really am. From a life half lived. Marcus turned, water dripping from his hands. Olivia, I'm not the answer. I'm too old for you. I'm set in my ways. I've been alone so long I don't know how to be with someone anymore. Stop deciding what's best for me, she said fiercely. I'm not a child, Marcus. I know exactly who you are. I see your loneliness, your dedication, your passion for beauty and meaning. I see all of it, and I want you anyway. Your brother, my brother loves me and wants me happy. You make me happy? I could lose his friendship. That means everything to me. And what about me? Olivia stepped closer, placing her hand over his heart. What do I mean to you? Marcus's control finally shattered. He pulled her against him, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other wrapping around her waist. Everything, he breathed. You mean everything, and that terrifies me. His lips found hers in a kiss that was desperate, tender, and inevitable. Months of denied longing poured into that single moment. Olivia melted into him, her fingers gripping his shirt, kissing him back with equal intensity. It was everything she had dreamed of and more, the taste of wine on his lips, the strength of his arms, the way he held her like she was precious and necessary all at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. We have to tell Ethan. I won't hide this. I won't disrespect him or you that way. Tomorrow, Olivia whispered. We'll tell him tomorrow. Together. They heard Ethan's footsteps and separated quickly, but everything had changed. They had crossed the line and there was no going back. As Marcus left that night, he squeezed Olivia's hand briefly, a promise, a commitment, a leap of faith into the unknown. Olivia woke Sunday morning to golden sunlight streaming through her bedroom window and a text message that made her heart race. It was from Marcus. Can't stop thinking about last night. We need to talk before we see Ethan. Come to the studio? I'll make breakfast. She arrived 40 minutes later, her nerves singing with anticipation and anxiety. Marcus opened the door before she could knock, as if he had been watching for her. He looked tired, shadows under his eyes suggesting a sleepless night, but his expression softened when he saw her. I made omelets, he said, gesturing toward the kitchen area of his studio, or I attempted to. Architecture is definitely my stronger skill. Despite the tension, Olivia smiled. They sat at his breakfast bar and for a moment just existed in the quiet morning light. But the conversation they needed to have loomed over them like a storm cloud. I didn't sleep, Marcus admitted, pushing his food around his plate. I kept thinking about Ethan, about our friendship. He's been there for me through everything. When my father died, when my engagement fell apart, when I nearly lost my firm during the recession. He's the closest thing to family I have. I know, Olivia said softly, taking his hand. And he's my brother. I love him. But Marcus, I love you too. She watched his eyes widen at her confession. Yes, I'm saying it. I love you, and I think you love me, even if you're too afraid to say it yet. Marcus turned her hand over in his, tracing the lines of her palm. I do love you, he said quietly, his voice rough with emotion. That's what kept me awake all night. I've never felt this way about anyone, not even Christine, my ex-fiancée. You've cracked open something in me I thought had closed permanently. You make me want things I convinced myself I didn't need. Partnership, laughter, a life that's more than just work and achievement. Then why do you look so terrified? Olivia asked gently. Because loving you means potentially losing everything else, Marcus admitted. Ethan's friendship, my reputation, the respect of people who matter to me. There will be talk about the age difference, about my intentions, about whether I'm taking advantage of you. Let them talk, Olivia said fiercely. Anyone who truly knows us will understand. And Ethan? He might be angry at first, but he's not unreasonable. He wants me to be happy. We just have to help him see that you make me happy. Marcus pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. When did you become so brave? I learned from watching you, she replied. You left a secure job to start your own firm. You design buildings that challenge conventions. You're braver than you think. Marcus Hale. You just need to be brave about this, too. They spent the morning preparing what they would say to Ethan. Marcus insisted on complete honesty. No minimizing, no excuses, just the truth. They would tell him together, face whatever consequences came, and hope that love, both romantic and familial, would be enough. At 1 o'clock, Olivia called her brother. Ethan, can you come to Marcus's studio? We need to talk to you about something important. 30 minutes later, Ethan arrived, curiosity written across his features. What's so urgent? You both sounded so serious. They sat in Marcus's living area, Olivia and Marcus on one sofa, Ethan across from them. Olivia noticed how Marcus's knee bounced nervously, a rare crack in his composed exterior. She placed her hand on his leg, steadying him, and Ethan's eyes tracked the intimate gesture. What's going on? Ethan's voice had shifted from curious to wary. Marcus took a deep breath. Ethan, there's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to be direct. Olivia and I have developed feelings for each other. Deep feelings. We wanted you to hear it from us before what? Ethan interrupted, his face flushing. Before someone saw you together? Before it became gossip? He stood abruptly, pacing. How long has this been going on? We kissed for the first time last night, Olivia said quickly. But I've had feelings for Marcus for months. And before you say it, he didn't encourage them. He kept pushing me away, trying to do right by you. The right thing would have been staying away from my sister completely, Ethan said, his voice rising. You're 36, Marcus. She's 22. She just finished undergrad. She's still figuring out who she is. I know exactly who I am, Olivia said firmly, standing to face her brother. And I know what I want. I'm not some naive girl being swept off her feet. I pursued him, Ethan. I showed up at his studio. I pushed past his boundaries because I saw something real between us. You're 14 years apart, Ethan said, looking between them. What do you even have in common? Everything that matters, Marcus replied, standing as well. We share values, intellectual curiosity, a vision for what meaningful work looks like. Olivia challenges me to think differently, to dream bigger. She sees past the successful architect to the man underneath, the one who's been lonely for years, who stopped believing in partnership, who built walls instead of bridges in his personal life. And Marcus supports my ambitions, Olivia added. He takes my work seriously. He listens when I talk about art and meaning and legacy. He makes me want to be braver, to pursue dreams instead of safe choices. She moved closer to her brother. You've always protected me, always wanted the best for me. Marcus is the best for me. Can't you see that? Ethan's expression cycled through anger, confusion, and something softer, resignation perhaps, or dawning understanding. He sat down heavily, running his hands through his hair. This is insane. My best friend and my little sister. I know it's unexpected, Marcus said quietly. Believe me, I fought against it for weeks. But Olivia is remarkable, Ethan. She's brilliant and passionate and sees the world in ways that make me remember why I became an architect in the first place. She reminds me that life is about more than achievements and accolades. If you hurt her, Ethan said, his voice low and serious, friendship or not, I will never forgive you. I would expect nothing less, Marcus replied. And I promise you, on everything I hold sacred, I will always put her happiness first. I will support her dreams, respect her intelligence, and love her with everything I have. The word love hung in the air. Ethan looked at his sister. You really love him? This isn't just rebellion or infatuation. I love him completely, Olivia said without hesitation. He's kind and passionate and brilliant. He makes me laugh. He challenges me intellectually. He looks at me like I'm the most fascinating person in the world. Yes, there's an age gap, but it doesn't matter. What matters is how we treat each other, how we feel about each other. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer. I need time to process this. It's weird and unexpected, and I'm not thrilled about it. But I also know you're both stubborn. If I say no, you'll be together anyway, and I'll lose my relationship with both of you. It wasn't enthusiastic approval, but it was a beginning. Olivia hugged her brother tightly. That's all we're asking. Time. Ethan hugged her back, then turned to Marcus. Take care of her. She's the most important person in my life. She's become the most important person in mine, too, Marcus said, shaking Ethan's hand. After Ethan left, still processing but no longer hostile, Olivia collapsed into Marcus's arms. We did it, she breathed. We were honest. Now we can build something real, Marcus said, holding her close. No hiding, no shame, just us. The following weeks brought adjustment. Ethan slowly warmed to their relationship as he witnessed Marcus's devotion and Olivia's genuine happiness. He saw how they balanced each other, Marcus bringing stability and wisdom to Olivia's youthful idealism, Olivia bringing warmth and spontaneity to Marcus's structured world. They had dinner together weekly, and gradually the awkwardness faded. 3 months later, on a snowy December evening, Olivia moved into Marcus's lakeside studio. They had spent weeks making it feel like home, adding color and warmth to the minimalist space, filling shelves with her books alongside his architectural journals, hanging her art on the walls beside his blueprints. It's perfect, Olivia said, standing in the middle of their home, watching snow fall over the frozen lake. Marcus wrapped his arms around her from behind. You're perfect. You took my carefully designed life and made it actually worth living. You gave me permission to dream bigger, she replied, turning in his embrace. To believe that love doesn't follow rules or timelines. That night, as they sat by the fireplace with wine and quiet conversation, Marcus pulled out a sketchbook. I started designing something new, he said, showing her detailed drawings of a home, their home. It incorporated elements from his fantasy designs, but made practical, made real. It's for us, for our future, if you want it. Olivia looked at the drawings, seeing their life mapped out in careful lines. A library for her research, a studio for his work, spaces for the family they might one day have. When did you design this? I started the night you first showed up at my door, Marcus admitted. Even then, some part of me knew you were going to change everything. I just didn't want to admit it yet. Olivia kissed him, pouring all her love and gratitude into that single gesture. Let's build it. Let's build everything together. Outside, snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in white. Inside, two people who had dared to love against convention sat dreaming of blueprints and futures, of structures that would house not just bodies but hearts, of a life designed not for perfection but for joy. Marcus had spent years building impressive structures for others. Now finally, he was building something for himself, a home, a partnership, a love that defied expectations and proved that the best designs often come from taking risks, from following the heart instead of the blueprint, from trusting that sometimes the most beautiful creations emerge when we're brave enough to break our own rules. And Olivia, who had pursued her dreams with determination and courage, had found something more valuable than any academic achievement, a partner who saw her completely, loved her fully, and built a life alongside her that was more beautiful than any Renaissance sculpture or Baroque cathedral. Together, they had designed something extraordinary, a love story written not in stone or steel, but in trust, honesty, and the brave decision to choose each other despite every obstacle. Their foundation was solid, their future was bright, and their love would stand the test of time.